necessarily those of the network or anyone affiliated. There will be mature and possibly immature content. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. As a matter of fact, I probably wouldn't listen at all. It's very poorly produced. Take me to your leader.
Somebody left us.
My phone's going dead, boys.
Alright, I'll leave too. Bye. Dang, keep on leaving. No, people come back on. Dennis,
I can't believe it.
Mentor. Wolfman. What's going on, brother?
That's brother. Just
What state do you live in?
Jerry.
Welcome to the Monster Castle Radio Show.
Kansas City, Missouri.
For the extreme paranormal listener. And here is your host, the Wolfman.
What was that? No, it's just Missouri.
If I can just say something.
I'm just saying. I'm sorry.
It's like a
How's
big
your
bull
weather?
is what you are, Wolfman.
Cooler than now?
You're defending the
Missouri.
cushion eject. I would literally beat your ass right now, Wolfman.
Funniest
The
thing.
fuck?
Last week it was cool, right? Now
That's
all
what I
this
did,
week
man.
it's
I was
been
so happy
hotter.
It's called
Yes,
contact
in
in
the
the
It's been
desert.
hot.
Like how hot
I'm
is
taking my
hot for
damn
you in
call.
Missouri? I'm in Phoenix, so
I was
be
just
careful.
starting to like you too, damn it, Wolfman.
How hot is your hot? Like 90 degrees?
Oh, and we're live. That was Willie, by the
The
way,
80s.
Bruce. This show normally would be called
Oh
Dirty
my
Rotten
God.
Taro,
Becky.
and it's
80s
pretty much
is
R-rated
perfect
with
weather.
maybe a little bit of X mixed
You wanna
in,
do
X-rated type, but I
120
don't know
one
that
day?
we're going to have. So if Wolfman does take some calls, just be prepared that it's going to get kind of crazy,
See,
but
I'll
don't
just
take it
from the
personal.
mic
It's just
came in,
it's just some
like,
guys
about
like to
a
drink a
liter,
lot of
just
beer
you
this
and
time
I.
of night, and sometimes they call in and just act stupid. But it's all we're being sarcastic,
Plus,
just
I
having
got
fun.
all these
So I just wanna warn
females
you ahead
on
of time.
Facebook. Say, oh, send
it's
me
all good,
money.
you're grown.
Send me
Buddy,
money.
But
By the
so
way,
you wanted
happy
to talk. We were in the break. We
You
were
have
discussing
money
something
and
about the
people
nine.
want you to
What was it? The
send- how
9
do they know you
points
have
or the
money?
9? Refresh my memory. What you were saying?
Yeah, the 9 obstacles to contact.
Say that slowly. I didn't quite understand you. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Want money from
You know,
me.
they're having this. Are we on the air?
Can you?
Yes, we're live.
Yes.
Yeah, talk about the 9. Say it
Oh,
again
you're
slowly
saying
and loudly
that
so we can hear
people
you.
call in to try to get money
Okay.
from you. Oh, that
You know,
happens
they're having
all
this
the time,
UFO
sure.
convention
Really?
thing
If you want
in
money
California
so damn
here in
bad,
about 3
how
weeks.
about you just get a
It's called
damn
Yes,
job?
Contact in the Desert.
Yes.
And I just want to mention that there are 9
They're probably
obstacles
from foreign
contact,
countries. I was
all of
watching,
which have to be addressed
study
one at a
today
time.
on the,
And if you haven't addressed those
most of
9
them are from
obstacles,
foreign countries.
you can't even have a conversation.
And
And I'm going to tell you what those 9 factors are. If
Okay.
you want to write
That's
them
why I
down,
don't believe
anybody out
We're
there
going to
listening,
say them slowly.
the
and
first-
I'll put them in the chat room.
the first factor, and I'll give you the list first, and then we'll go back over it one at a time. Okay.
Not
Okay,
that.
okay.
Number
It's
1
Facebook.
is what's called the fragmentation
Facebook.
factor.
Wait a minute.
Number 2 is the desire factor.
So you don't know who might
Number
be.
3 is the technology factor.
I
Number
know.
4 is the germ factor.
But still, people
Number
say
5
germs
is
from
the intelligence factor.
Hi, how
Yeah.
are you? Nice to be your friend. Could you
Number
give me
6 is the language
You would say
factor.
no.
Okay, everybody, whenever
No,
he says the word
no,
factor,
hold
have a
up.
drink.
They, you know,
number, Number 7.
Oh, can you find the iTunes card?
Number
Okay, so you're
7
at language. So
is
far,
the
you got 7
appearance
so far.
factor.
I pull a reverse.
Number 8 is the investment factor. And number 9
Can you give me
is the
$100 or
factor.
$200, please?
Now, getting back to number 1, the fragmentation factor. You know, people ask questions like,
Just say no.
why don't we land on the White House
Do they
lawn?
like Phil and Julia?
You know, if we're
Is it
real.
a girl like
Well,
you,
it's a
is he
very
all
simple
special
answer to
and
that,
all that?
because
Didn't they
if we
ask for
did
money?
land on the White House lawn, Americans would
But
think
like
that
that.
they were special or something.
Yeah, fuck it.
They would
Just
use
say
it as an occasion to
They do that.
beef up their egos.
1,000 people. They do that
And it's
to
not
you,
our
you
job
know
to
what I mean?
beef up your egos. We don't have egos.
Make you feel
You
all
have egos.
special. Then.
And it comes out of that reptile
There's this
brain
one
at the
woman.
base of your cerebral cortex.
This is
I
the
don't have an
funniest
ego.
thing.
That's
There's
something
this-
you'll
what
find
she
out
said.
about me, you know, as
There's just one woman say,
as
hey,
important
if
as
you
this
help me
mission is that
with
I'm
my
on.
phone,
I
give
still
me-
don't look
give
down
me
at
like
people.
an iTunes card.
You know, if I see somebody
then-
fall down, I don't step over them. I reach down and I pick them up.
Come and do
And I
that.
talk to him
Yeah,
one-on-one.
come and take care of
You know,
one
Eric
day,
has
real-
met me in person. He knows how I am.
Like that.
I'm not mean to people.
Yeah, that was
You
she
know,
said.
when your
That's what
mind
Mary-
shut down
Just
and you couldn't communicate anymore
I will.
mentally,
block her
telepathically,
Facebook. Block her.
you were
Just
left to communicate
enticing
with
you
each
to
other
do all that
verbally,
for money.
which is
Are
where
you
the Tower of
kidding me?
Babel comes into play.
That's a scam.
But what's
going on.
ended up happening
This
is your people
Facebook,
have
Twitter,
fragmented
all this crap
into,
is the
you know,
wild,
like
wild west
200
in the
different languages and
1800s.
200 different
About
nations.
1,000
and
times worse.
We're not here
because you don't
to
have to get
pump
on
up any
horse.
individual
You
nation.
don't have to go out. And
Any
Should
conversation
make
we want to have with you
Now,
is not
listen
with
to your
any
computer.
government. It's just with the people, you guys.
You-
I'm here to talk to the public. I'm not here to talk to the United States government.
I'll take it.
You know, that's an important fact. You know, your people are heavily fragmented, and we're
True.
I'm not.
What?
Let me give you an example so that you can see this. You know,
Hold
there were
up.
two guys
Real ones.
that were in the CIA,
Yes.
and they went to England, and using a
I am
2x4
talking
and
to
a
this
piece of
woman.
rope, they camped out a fake
A
crop
month
formation
now.
that
month or
simply
two.
stated, talk
Not even
to
once.
us.
She
Big
said,
letters,
hey,
U.S. Well, when
or-
we responded
or I want
immediately,
iTunes.
within hours, we
That's
responded,
a real woman.
and we put a crop formation right next to it.
I forgot to go.
They couldn't figure out what it was for a while, but what it was is it was a dead language.
You left, bitch.
It was a language that had been spoken in northern Germany 1,000 years ago, but it was a dead language.
Fucking left, didn't you?
And when it was translated, it only had 3 words in it. It said, "We abhor deceit. We never lie. I never lie. I never have reason to lie. If I don't want to talk about something, I'll change the subject, or I'll tell you that I don't feel comfortable discussing that with you, but I don't lie." But, you know, here's the thing, because if it was a message in English, English-speaking people would say, see, the aliens think that English-speaking people are more important than anybody else. And they're not. Everybody on this planet is just as important as anybody else. That's the fragmentation factor. Second, the desire factor. You know, you guys sitting around in lawn chairs out around campfires isn't going to do it. You know, if you're going to have contact with an extraterrestrial and have a conversation, it's going to be because we want to have that conversation. You know, you never ask that question whether we even want to talk to you or not, which we do actually, you know, but it has to be on our part, which brings up number 3, technology. You guys don't have the technology to contact us or to communicate to us properly. You know, you don't. Sitting in a lawn chair isn't going to cut it. So if we're going to have a conversation, it's going to be because we are starting up the conversation. Number 4, the germ factor. You know, we can't just come here and take our helmets off, because breathing the air that's filled with millions of microorganisms would kill us. So it means that certain things have to be addressed, such as me as an example. A human surrogate was chosen, and she was implanted with an embryo.
Whoa, back up now. How is it that you're able to stay alive if you're not immune to our colds and stuff? How are you, as a clone, able to survive all this?
No, I get the same germs that you do. There are some things that don't make me sick.
You just said that your race and your alien race would not be able to survive with all of our diseases. But yeah,
I think he's talking about in his original form, not his current human form. Am I right, Bruce? Am I wrong on that?
Yeah, my people. I am the same race as the people who are currently inhabiting the planet Mars. There are billions of people there, but they can't just come down here and sit and have a conversation with you. So that's where, if you want to have a face-to-face conversation, arrangements have to be made, and that's what they did in my case. I was born here from a human mother. You know, I've had my, I still have immunal problems right now, but that's aside from the fact that I have survived into my 60s, even though I am actually an extraterrestrial. The intelligence factor is next, because you only use 10% of your brains. And you would have a hard time grasping the kind of civilization that we have on Mars. Because like I was trying to say before, we can have a town hall meeting where 100 people are there in the town hall meeting, and they're not actually there. They're all sitting in their quarters, and they're astral projecting into the room. And they can astral project here, right at this second, wherever you're sitting. There could be 20 Martians in that room watching you have this conversation. And I can assure you they are watching you have this conversation. So the thing is, we can't speak to you at our level because you basically are retarded. It's hard to say, you know, I don't want to insult you, but there's the fact. So it means that somebody has to be placed here, it has to be dealt with the germ factor, and then he has to be dumbed down in order to communicate with you sufficiently at your level. Then you've got the language factor. It means that somebody, you know, you guys, you go to college, and in college you still take English for 4 more years. If English was so easy to learn, how come it takes you guys, you know, like 16 years of schooling to learn how to speak English? You know, the only way we can speak to you properly is by putting somebody down amongst you who lives with you that you don't recognize as an alien, but learns to speak your language and learns all your mannerisms and learns how to speak to you in your own fashion.
So
you know,
you said earlier that the pyramids were all created for you. So I'm wondering if you knew.
Wait a minute, you said that wrong.
They were created in honor of you?
Who?
Built in honor of you.
What?
Did you not say that the pyramids were built in honor of yourself?
Yes. The pyramids were built in honor of me. My name is Orion. I am the son of Poseidon. I am the real Orion. I have been brought back to life using a cloning process. And I was sent here. And that's the reason that those pyramids were put there. It was put there as a memorial because they knew it would last for tens of thousands of years in the hope that the future generation would know that when I showed up, that means it's game on. It's in game. And that's where you're at. You're in end game right now. Number 7, the appearance factor. You know, somebody has to come amongst you who is sufficiently enough in appearance to a human being so as not to completely freak you out, which is what we are. You know, the major difference in us is our ears, because our ears are pointed, you know, but you heard what happened with my father when I was born. He had the points of my ears cut off. Then there's the investment factor. It means in order to have a conversation and contact with an extraterrestrial, it means that the extraterrestrials themselves. My father, when I was. What?
What happened right there?
It's okay. It's all good.
Keep going. Sorry there.
I added a friend to the call.
I was saying that in order to have a simple conversation with an extraterrestrial, it means that a massive investment has to be made on the part of the extraterrestrials themselves over a long period of time, taking potentially decades, taking into all these factors just to put somebody amongst you at those lawn chairs out by the campfire just to have a simple conversation. You know, then there's the... that was the investment factor I mentioned.
That's in the corner.
And the last factor... This is a very simple question. We represent Christ. The serpents represent their own religion, which is called, you know, the Luciferian doctrine. And it's a very simple question. Whose side are you on?
So who is Lucifer then when it comes to what you're talking about? I mean, you say we're all...
That's the name of the royal family that rules over the Serpent Nation. Their empire was called the Empire of the Great Red Dragon.
So that's the Greys.
Yes. You know what it says in the Bible? Let me tell you exactly what it says, and you can look this up, you guys. It's talking about the last days. It says, "For then shall be war in the heavens, Michael and the Nephilim fighting against the great red dragon and his armies. But the dragon will prevail not, neither his armies, and their place will be found no more throughout the heavens. But now, woe, woe, woe be unto the inhabitants of the earth, because the serpents are now cast down amongst them." That's in the book of Revelation.
Okay, that's if you believe in that stuff. If you're an alien, why would you believe in the Bible? Why would you believe in the Bible if you're an alien?
Good question. Good question.
We gave you the Bible.
It's been passed. All the stuff in the Bible, I've seen it in the book of Thoth and in the Egyptian Book of the Dead. They're just renditions of different stories that have been passed down for thousands of years.
Yeah, but let's be clear about something. The Bible itself states that this book, even though it's the most important book amongst the human race, it also says that this book is flawed. It's vague, it doesn't go into detail, and it can't because you're not intelligent enough to take all the information in. But it says that one day this Bible will be done away with.
Okay,
and it will be replaced by something called the New Glorified Bible.
Welcome, my friend Debbie Daly. Do you have a question for the guest?
Well, I was wondering if he has... Where was he born? Does he have a birth certificate? I mean, is he...
Yes. No, I was born here in the United States.
I mean, do you have parents? Do you celebrate holidays like Thanksgiving with them? I mean, or do you have a family? I'm just
They're all
curious.
dead.
Everybody?
They're all dead. Yep, they're all dead.
Well, when did
I was almost dead.
When did you come to the revelation that you are from
Orion?
Orion? Your name is Orion and you're from Mars. Is that from Mars? Is that right?
Yes, I'm the same race as the people who are currently inhabiting the planet Mars. The government of the United States is not telling you the truth. there are billions of people on Mars that look like human beings, but they're not, because they are a different race, and they all have pointed ears, like Mr. Spock. And they're called the Nephilim. It's my favorite term, because it's biblical. Now, you could call me Anunnaki if you want. You could call me, there's like 25 other terms for me. We were called the Watchers. We were called the Guardians of Forever. But we're all the same race. We are the people that evolved on the planet. Go ahead. I'm trying to hear the question.
It's okay.
That was Marvin Spacely. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, the thing is that my mother was human. She had already had 6 children before me. She had her fallopian tube surgically removed so that she couldn't have any more kids. But her uterus was intact. 3 years later, her and my father, human father, had a missing time scenario, and afterwards discovered that my mother was pregnant and gave birth to me.
How old were you when sorry, if you don't mind me asking, how old were you? At what time did you become aware of all these facts about your life, these new things?
I was 7 years old. I got very sick. I told that story earlier. Maybe you didn't catch it. My immune system, it was like I was allergic to your atmosphere or something. I got really sick, and my temperature went up to 105. And incidentally, for the record, my normal body temperature is about 96 degrees. There's another one of those little things, but my temperature went up to 105, and all the people in the neighborhood ran very quickly and gathered together all of their ice cube trays, and they filled my bathtub full of ice and water, and they carried me in and laid me in the ice water.
Yeah,
and I had an event.
That was probably scarlet.
Debbie, this was in Indiana in 1962. He was born in 1956.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was right in the middle of all that UFO stuff. Some of it was me.
Shit.
What do you mean some of it was you?
Debbie, this was in Indiana.
Well, back then, Indiana was like, I don't know what they call it, where there's a lot of UFOs they're seeing. They got a term for that, but now I can't remember what it's called. A flap area, a UFO flap area. And the thing was that people took photographs of UFOs, and some of them were floating right over my house at the time. So, I've been in the middle of this business. I'm in my 60s now. And this is all I do. You guys don't understand that I've been telling the same information for over half a century. But this is the first generation that was intelligent enough, or at least exposed to enough information, that they could begin understanding what I was trying to tell them. Now people are beginning to listen to what I'm telling them, but I haven't actually been adding anything.
If you don't mind me asking you, sir, when people say things like this, people obviously are very skeptical about these things. Is there any sort of a proof or pictures or any kind of documentation that any of this is? I'm new.
Oh, certainly.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I show people. I have pictures all the time. At the base, I don't know whether you call it the base, of Gustav Crater. That's Gustev. Gustav Crater. There's a major city there that has tens of millions of people in it.
So you're talking the moon, right? On the moon, right?
There's a base.
Gustav on the moon, right? Mars. Okay, Gustav.
Mars.
I haven't heard of it. I'm not sure if it's on the moon or Mars, but I've seen it said Gustav on the picture. I think Darren showed me some of this. Also,
Yeah, but you didn't let me finish. But go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. I'm going to let you finish.
There's a river channel that feeds into Gustav Crater. Gustav Crater itself is about 100 miles across. Right where the river channel feeds into it, and it comes from the north to the south, so you have to actually be looking south. There is a first crater right there that's 26 miles across, and 53,000 years ago, we took bulldozers out on the surface and turned that crater into the shape of a face. And it shows a normal-looking guy, except that it shows him from the side perspective, and it shows our pointed ears. And right directly next to it, to the left, there is a monument there that is also 26 miles across, and it's in the shape of an ape face. And it basically shows the ape man in conversation with a man who has pointed ears.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Have you been to Mars recently, or?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, how do you get back and forth? How do you get back and forth?
That's what I was going to ask. Thank you.
It's not a biggie for us. You know, it takes you guys up to 7 months to go to Mars.
That's what I was going to ask.
But we can fly from here to Mars in under 7 minutes.
Okay, well, how do you know when they're coming? When to come pick you up?
Well, that's the problem. You know, they used to pick me up about once every 6 months. And, you know...
So what, you got to go just wait on a hilltop for them or something?
But,
I thought you said you were telepathic.
Wait a minute, Bruce. What do you mean they would pick you up every 6 months? And when did this start happening?
Yeah, it's been going on my whole life until recently. That's what I was telling people before. I had these 2 tracking chips in me. I had one in my right sinus passage, in my nose, and I had a backup in my left forearm. But I had an attempt on my life, and I was badly injured. And while I was in the hospital, they made me unconscious, you know, while they were fixing me, doing surgery. And while I was unconscious, they took the 2 tracking chips out.
They can't do that. Sorry, sir. They can't do that. You need a special surgeon.
Yes.
There's nobody on board any hospital I know of that can take those out because they hide. From the research I've done, there's no way. They hide themselves. Those things will dig themselves back into another part of their skin.
Listen, guys, remember that the United States government kicked me out of the Navy 40 years ago. 40 years ago, they kicked me out of the United States Navy, and I almost got stood in front of a firing squad because they wanted to know why I had volunteered in their military services. And they told me straight out that they knew that I was an alien from another planet, and that was 40 years ago. These guys follow me everywhere I go.
So that was your first mistake.
I can't go to the bathroom without somebody watching me where I'm going. There are government people probably in rooms. I'm in a motel right now. I'm just in a motel room. And there's probably, you know, United States Secret Service guys probably 3 doors down. They were just sitting there watching to see whether I come or go. They probably have one of those directional microphones there. You know, they follow me. See, this isn't the first time. You know, I had a previous event where they had taken x-rays of my skull. And they brought in a team of surgeons, and they told me, you know, just give us the word go, and we'll take those things out of you. And I told them, hell no. I said, I know what they are. Leave them alone. I want them there. And they couldn't believe that I wouldn't give them permission to take it. So the thing is, I had an attempt on my life. I was badly injured. And somebody from the government just came in. He did not have permission to do this. You think he has permission to set fire to me, to blow me up, to shoot at me, or to stab me? You know, you guys don't realize they're killing people. You know, here's something else I'll just throw on the record. On Coast to Coast AM, they have this mystery about all these people dying by somebody called the Smiley-Faced Killer. And they're trying to figure out who it is. I know who it is. It's the United States government. Because these guys have all got on the internet or something, and they've gotten too close to the truth, so they send a team out and they just kill these guys. The United States government is killing people to keep the truth from being told.
I just want to say this as a citizen of the United States. I find some of this is just a little bit, and I'm being very respectful. It's a little bit hard to accept and to believe. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
hey, listen, the United States government knows about Mars.
Well,
they are doctoring every NASA photo from Mars. You know, when they take these pictures of Mars, there are cities going all the way around the equator. There are billions of people living on Mars.
But, sir,
and yet they put out movies.
But you claim to go to Mars in 7 minutes.
It's wormhole technologies. We punch out and punch back in. It's real simple.
That's like beam me up Scotty type stuff. I don't know. I'm just trying to wrap my head around this. I really am. I'm trying to.
No, listen.
Yes, me too, Bruce.
The distance between here and Mars, okay? That's all space-time. When you step out, when you punch a hole, that's what those spiraling things are. When you create a wormhole, you step out of the now. It's hard to explain, but you punch a hole here, and you punch a hole there, and you're there in minutes. We can fly, that's what I was trying to tell this guy. We can fly halfway across this galaxy and still be home in time for dinner. Literally. We have hundreds of planets with people on them. Our current population vastly exceeds 111 billion people, and we're dispersed on hundreds of planets.
Has anybody tried to say that there's something's wrong with you, or they think you're trying to have you committed or anything like that? I mean, I'm just curious. I'm not saying that you should be. Well, I'm just asking.
Let me. I was declared sane. No, listen, I don't know if you heard this, but the last time somebody made an attempt on my life.
Actually, I was declared sane last time my brother took me there.
What?
Oh, that was Marvin Spacely. He said his brother took him there last time. He was declared sane too.
Yeah, man, I've been beating Martin, and I got him kidnapped and locked down in my basement. Sorry about that.
Oh, you said that the last time they almost took your life, that they did what to who, sir?
They killed my wife. They actually killed her. And then they admitted doing it. The federal government of the United States gave me papers in writing acknowledging that my wife was killed. They gave me money for it, in fact.
That sounds like murder.
No, it sounds like if they gave him money, it sounds like a cover. If they gave him money,
nobody's ever been charged because the people who are supposed to be going after murderers are the murderers.
They gave you money. That's a cover up.
Are they going to charge themselves? You know. So.
No, sir. If they gave you money, that is a cover up. That's a cover up. That's a cover up operation. If they gave you money, to cover up.
Oh, I know. Wait a minute. I know what the question was. Listen, you know, when my wife was killed, she was trying to save me. And you don't know the grief that still is putting me through. She was the best friend I ever had in my life. And to have her murdered the way she was, and nobody is arrested, you don't know what they did. They threw me in a hole for 359 days. They thought that I was going to die. They beat me to unconsciousness. And I woke up in this hole with my face in a puddle of blood. This was not a fun event for me. They wanted me to die.
Bruce,
so
this was 5 years ago.
When I got out on my own accord, I went and put myself into counseling because I realized that I was having very significant grief issues. I went through counseling for 3 years, and then they kind of threw me out. They said, well, you don't need to come here anymore. I said, well, I'm not sure that I'm fully cured. And they go, listen, dude, you are the sanest person we've ever had in this place.
See, that's fucked up.
Believe me.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I just stepped all over you.
No, I was going to say that's fucked up because I was just about to ask you if you've had any major neurological damage or strokes or seizures.
I had no strokes. I've had no seizures. But I have had 3 skull fractures. And on one of them, I did, well, actually, on 4 different occasions, I have had 4 major concussions.
Have you had a woman have you had a wife or a girlfriend in these Earth years? Because you put on them tears as soon as you talk about your 10-year-old girlfriend that you lost.
No, that's the point I never got to. You know, 100,000 years ago, listen to me, 100,000 years ago, I was on my own homeworld, the 5th planet in this star system. I was a farmer. My wife was a vet. She had an animal hospital, and it was right on our farm. And I did that for almost a decade of my life. I never intended to do anything else. That's what I wanted to do. And it's because I was a second generation from an actual king and queen. My grandparents were setting king and queen, and they were very influential in our United Nations.
Do they use money on Mars? Do they use money? Do they use money on Mars? From the chat room. That's Craig Ryu, I think.
Yes, they have an exchange, but it's different.
It was Karen, actually.
Because we don't have any poverty. You know, in our civilization, we're telepathic in our natural state. You can't commit a crime because if you did, everybody'd know you did it.
So they do use money?
We don't have political corruption. We don't have the problems you do.
Do you use money?
Have nobody
do you use money?
Is homeless.
No, does your
that's starving.
Okay, wait a minute. What was the answer? Does your race use money? Does your race use money?
Yes, we have an exchange.
So you are corrupt.
Not exactly sure
so you are corrupt.
What the exchange is now, but
that is
the
corruption.
thing is, it's different. Because we don't have any filthy rich people.
Let him talk, Wolfman. Please.
We have no filthy rich people in our civilization. Whenever something becomes big, like where somebody accumulates $50 billion, it's nationalized. And it's spread out to the people. Our people do not suffer from poverty. Everybody has clothes. Everybody has medical care. Everybody has education.
Do your people watch our hockey games in Canada here? Do you watch our hockey?
Yeah.
Do you like
We do all kinds of things. We drink alcohol and get drunk.
And watch hockey? Do you watch hockey on here?
Well, you know, we have our own games. We have our own games.
Okay, you speak of a utopian place that you live. What are you doing down here in this shithole then? Excuse my language. I mean, just...
No, listen. The utopian place where I lived is destroyed. The asteroid belt is all that's left of my home planet. That's all. All of that debris that's in that orbit is what's left of my home planet. That's where I was at. I was a farmer. That's what I was trying to say. My grandparents were an active king and queen, okay? My uncle that is famous, his name was Zeus. He was like 8.
I'm sorry, I thought
he was like 8. He was 8th in line for the throne, which basically meant he didn't have any chance to get to the throne. And my father, whose name happened to be Poseidon, he was like 12th in line for the throne. And I was my father's 7th child out of about 15. So the thing is, though, that on our world, like I mentioned earlier, we had a kind of a military. We had a navy and we had an army, but we didn't have wars. Our military existed for the purpose of saving life, not taking it. And my father and my uncle and another uncle, actually, I think his name was Hermes, they were all in competition with each other to see who could do the most good for humanity. And they were doing wonderful jobs. And my father ended up being the Grand Admiral, and Zeus was the Supreme Commanding General. But, you know, their army was like the Army Corps of Engineers.
Did you know?
The problem is,
did you ever hang out with anybody that ran real fast named Achilles?
Oh, it's one of our names, certainly. You know,
right, I have a serious
everybody
question.
Just has one name.
I have a serious question. Do you know of Andrew Basiago's work? And he said, he claimed that he was at Mars using a time machine, and actually was there and witnessed that the President Obama was there too.
You can end the question right now.
What do you know about that?
No, nobody has a time machine. Nobody. You know, listen, guys, when our planet was destroyed, 49 billion people died on one single day. If we could go back in time, we would prevent that from happening, but we can't. Now, you might find one of those other worlds, you know, like that's a possibility. You know, where, like sliders, you know, there might be many duplicate Earths that are slightly different from each other, you know. You might pipe over to one of them, but then you're not here anymore. So you're not actually going back in time. You're just changing the timeline on another Earth kind of thing. So the thing is, these people that say that UFOs are human beings coming back from the future, that's not true at all. Nobody has developed time machines. You know, the best that we have is we have technologies that allow us to see into the future, which is important because it enables us to recognize where we're going to make mistakes.
What do you know about the the yellow cube, or the yellow, they call the yellow notebook, that the Gray gave to the American government so that they can see into the future and the past?
Yep, I was thinking the same thing.
Remember, guys, if it's from the Grays, there's strings attached. You know, like when they made these deals, you know, hey, we'll trade you some technology if you let us kill, 5,000 people a year or something. You know, what kind of stupid-ass deal is that?
And again, why do the Greys want to have so much killing? Obviously, it's not depopulation to get people off of the planet for resources. I mean, why is that again? Tell me one more time why the Greys want to kill everybody.
They don't have anywhere left that they can go. We have defeated them. They conquered hundreds of planets. At one time, these Greys were a galactic superpower. But I changed, I tilted the table in the other direction because I found their capital and I blew the damn thing up. Remember I mentioned that earlier? I killed 65...
You found the Greys' capital and you blew that up?
I killed over 65 billion Greys on one day.
Well, I'd like to thank you personally. That's a heroic effort on your part. That's amazing.
But it's made for a problem now. This is the problem. All of those planets that were under them began falling to us one after another like dominoes, and we got all of those planets back. And whenever possible, we took the original race of man that was on those planets and we helped them to repopulate. So we gave the planets back to these people. The problem is that all of these Greys...
Are there any good Greys?
Many.
Are there any good Greys?
What?
Are there any good Greys?
No, that's the thing that I argue with people. You can't talk to them. You can't reason with them. You can't cut deals with them. You can't make compromises with them. If you see a gray, you kill that damn thing.
Are they like an insect? Are they an insect-like mentality? Do they have a robotic sort of sentience when I try to telepathically meld with them?
Yeah, that's right. They haven't. That's exactly what they have. They have a hive mind. They are controlled by the dragons, that's the dragon overlords. And those dragon overlords are massively telepathically empathic.
Quick question.
These little grays.
A lot of things are so confused.
What you call the grays,
Bruce,
are called serpents. Okay?
Bruce, can you...
Okay, I'm going to have to mediate here. Eric, can you ask the next question, please?
Yeah, Bruce, you say the dragons, but... a lot of the terminology that is being used now on the internet and the media is the Dracos. So are the Dracos the same as the dragons, or is that a whole nother race?
You know what? You guys weren't talking any of this stuff until I brought it to your attention.